I'm going to take one side note because I need to discuss about it is CNC, right? And then from there, we'll go on to the last topic, which is going to be vetting process. CNC. Everyone likes it to a certain degree. Everyone has that nice, pretty image of being treated just the right amount of disrespectfully, just the right amount of being indulgent, the right amount of people who are like, if you were like the dream boat, this is what it would be. I don't have to communicate anything to you. You just understand me. I feel like everyone has that in them. They all have that idea, that fantasy. And consent, non-consent is not always violent. It is simply, at its core, I don't care. I trust you, right? That's it. You are not consenting to a given act being done to you. You're not doing that. You are putting every bit of trust into a person. Now, if you're doing that, right? If you're saying, I trust this person for everything that they're worth, for everything that I'm worth, and for anything that could happen, I trust this person. Do you think you could trust that person in a pick-up play situation? In my eyes, I don't think that is something that you can, in good conscience, say. Now, you could easily just say, I like the mystery of it. It's for me. I like to just be treated as like a rag doll. I want to see what happens if I give up all control. That's fine. That's something different than saying you're consenting to not consenting, right? Because everyone has a limit. Everyone does. Everyone who says they don't, that's only because they don't know about it, they're not comfortable with it, or they don't want to show weakness in the way that they portray themselves. For bottoms, they want to make sure that they are the heaviest bottoms. They can take all the things and they can dish it out and be the best thing. For tops, they feel like they can do anything and perform anything and do it in such a way that gives such a finesse that makes them feel like they are top of the world. Because of this, when someone says that they are doing consensual, non-consensual, in VR, it's a little bit easier to do because you are removing half the equation. You are taking the physical aspect of it, you are taking the physical harm out of it, and you are only really putting a threat to the mental aspect, right? Unless, you listen to the person telling you how to do knife play in real life and you're doing it to yourself. Never do that, by the way. But in VR, if you were just to stay as you are only saying non-consensual consent or consensual non-consent in a VR space, which can't really do much, right? You can do a lot, but you can't really do much physical harm, but it's all mental. I still won't say that's a good way of going about it because, again, not everybody likes it. Some people don't vibe with it. I don't vibe with it. But it's a little bit more understanding from a pickup play. Again, I don't encourage it. If it's your thing and you want to try it out, please do, but come with some expertise on it. Oh, there's a question. Or PieShock or Jason. Yes, peripherals. That is actually a good point on that one. Okay, I was not taking into consideration of PieShocks and all that sorts. So it is very much the same, right? If you're doing consent non-consensual and they have a PieShock and you can just like ramp that shit up and just fucking electrocute them, that shit can go south pretty quickly if abused. Scratch what I just said. Everything should just be taken up with seriousness. CNC is not something that you should do. It is a role play, if anything. Like, how do I describe this? Rape play is not CNC. Is weird to say, but it's not. Because when you do rape play, you are agreeing what happens. You agree to what things can be done. CNC is a situation where it's just, here's a mystery box. Fucking, here's the clown costume and the tutu, get dressed. That's the kind of thing you're opening the box to. You don't know what the hell's going to happen. In rape play, you are agreeing to the certain scenario to take place and that these are going to happen to you. You have an expectation. You know the roles. You know what's going to happen. You know the dynamic between them. Again, risk awareness consensual kink. If you're aware of the situation, you know what's going to happen. You have a grounded approach to what's going to be expected out of a scene, and you were negotiating with it. Because even if you did CNC, you're still negotiating it, right? You're just saying you don't need prior consent from me after this point. So that's probably the big thing to understand. So a lot of people who do CNC, it's weird. It's in a gray box within a gray zone that you can't really see where things change and where things are. I would always recommend don't use CNC. Just go into very descriptive identification of what you want. And if you want to leave it open to interpretation, that's fine. You can make a huge fence. You can make a fenced out area that's like a fucking field, right? Or you can make it like a little playpen for a toddler. That is up to you. And if you make a fence, there's still boundaries, but there could be just enough play space that you don't think about it in the moment. Those are the things that you need to be aware of.
Example at our events, our CNC events, you can say you're free use, but you still have complete access to your safe words at all times. And there's trust there going back and forth where if someone's going to go over something you may not be okay with, but you say you're free use, you can always say for it out and you trust the other person and the top trusts you in order to handle that, even in a pick-up play situation. But again, it's online, it's a lot safer than it would be IRL. And just FYI, if you hear differences in what we're saying, every teacher is different, and that's why we have multiple teachers coming to give perspectives. Do your own research and go out and find what works for you. I say that just as a general disclaimer, not just of anything that you said that I think is wrong. Right?
That is actually a good thing to point, I think, I should have probably have said this in the beginning. I'll say this right now and then at the end. Everything we are teaching you, everything I am teaching you, I'm teaching you out of experience. I am not teaching you because I was taught and I never did. I am teaching you because, dear God, have I been scorched and burned and fucked up a lot of things. And these are situations that I want you to avoid because it can destroy BDSM for you if you're not careful. It can leave a very bad taste in your mouth and it can impact your daily life if you let it. But the rewards, for the hard work, for the actual efforts putting into it, I can tell you from right now that there is nothing better than finding a person that vibes with your kinks, who accepts all of the weird shit you keep in your head and you don't say out loud. And it just makes life so much. It's a fucking drug. And you'll find people in relationships who last a long time. Mine, my own, right? A little background on my IRL. And I met my wife at a dungeon. Fucking beautiful mind of a person. And I can just vibe out with effortlessly. But besides myself, there is a lot of aspects of CNC that can be attractive, but you can easily just take them out of the equation and just have a more descriptive environment. If you want to be chased, do predator and prey, right? That's kind of what this whole entire group is all about, right? There is a sense of thrill to it. There's a sense of creativity that can be approached. There can be ways that things can be done in some manner. And still, there is some barrier that can be respected. The lack of the barrier opens up to the lack of opening up to anything happening. And that is not something I would always encourage at all. But as I would say, I am teaching you what I know, what is okay with me, what is okay for me, what I have seen. I am not you, are not me, you are not anyone else but yourself. You will have your own boundaries. You will have your own ways of interpreting the ways that I've easily interpreted for you today. In your time in BDSM, you will have the confidence in doing things, communicating things in the way that fits your way of talking, your way of consent, your way of doing it. As long as you respect the other person before the act and then after the act, it's all good in my books. That is that. In any questions on CNC? Because I imagine there's probably a couple of people who have some, usually given this topic. No? Okay. So the next and last thing that I wanted to talk about today is, how do I find a partner that is worth negotiating with? This is the next step, right? We all have an understanding of talking about consent, the things that can lead to it, the areas that it can go into, how integral it is both in your BDSM experience, but also in general, how to have a really good communication skills for your relationships outside of BDSM, just in general is good. And the next step is, how do we find somebody that we can trust to have an honest negotiation with? You can be honest. You know you can be honest, but how do you know the other is honest? How do you know the other is not going to be abusive? This is where vetting comes into play. When the term vetted means someone has a history, and the community has essentially said they're not someone who's going to abuse someone, and they have a history of not taking advantage of the situation. This happens with people who are educators, who are expertise in a given kink. So you'll find people who are really good with needles. You'll find people who are really good with knives. You'll find people who have a plethora of implements and they treat them as paintbrushes. And the community essentially say, this is a person who is a subject matter expert in the actual thing that you're wanting to do. These are people that would be good for, at the bare minimum, to do an educational demonstration or experiencing it as a kink. That's a vetted person. For people who are not in the organization, people who are more casually in it, who just take the play space and they do their own thing, a vetted person is a little bit more hard to do, right? This is still someone you can find in a play space. Maybe they're not there every Friday or Saturday. Maybe they're there once a month or something like that, and they do pick up play. Look at people. Observe the people that you are actually playing. This is how you get a feel for somebody. If I start seeing somebody and they start having an entire selection of floggers, whips, canes, and all that sorts, and I see them just whacking people out like fucking ballpark home run, maybe a little bit too intense for me. I don't think so. That's not my thing, right? Understand the implements. What kind of things are they using? If they're using impact, are they using really thick floggers that have falls that are this, 10 feet tall or 10 inches, not 10 inches, 3 feet tall? Or are they really thick? Do they have bunny floggers? What is a bunny flogger? These are all things we'll answer later on in the classes. There are tools that you need to be aware of, things that you need to understand. Get the energy, vibe check. You are trying to get an understanding of what the person is. And if you have a question, talk to people. Literally talk to people. Some people will be like, yeah, no, he's cool. I did a scene with him. He did everything good, Really would, if you want to have a basic scene or if you want a specific thing to happen, yeah, this is what happened. Nothing wrong. He was there for aftercare. He gave me cuddles. He gave me chocolate milk and gave me banana bread. By the way, chocolate and banana bread, so good after a scene. Anyways, the whole thing about the scene, talk to people, understand if they had a good experience. Great. Bottoms, talk to other bottoms. Love to talk about tops to other bottoms. I don't know why. I mean, I know why. They do it because it's a vetting process. Tops.
And a brag.
If you are yes.
No, I said and to brag.
Okay. Oh, and to brag. No, absolutely. No, bottoms will definitely be like, look at this. It's fucking purple. It's my whole thigh. And you're like, damn. Okay. Good. Yeah, that's fucking great. This is personal best record. I used to be able to take a little tiny dot. Now I'm like a fucking drumstick. It's the whole thing. Anyways, for tops, usually what happens if you are a top and you want to play with a bottom, there is such a thing as a bad bottom. There's a whole situation of a bad bottom, right? You can easily get in a situation where someone is completely unhinged, who really doesn't know how to behave themselves, who does not respect your skills that you're trying to put forward as a top. And there are situations that you may want to avoid and people that you want to avoid playing because for whatever reason, this one person in the community, drama just seems to trail them. And you want avoiding the drama. And I hate to say it, I really do. There's always at least one There's always at least one drama person who just always seems to get in trouble and always seems to like to stir shit up. You need to find them and avoid them like the plague. Some people like it. Some people like the problem thing because they just like to be mistreated in ways that I cannot explain. Anyways, my VR, one second, I'm broken. T-pose. Better. Anyway,
this is not a soap.
Yes. So a lot of people start breaking and like causing dramas, and bottoms can be like that, and they can be problematic from a scene perspective. Now, you as a person are educated, you are aware, you are comfortable with what you have, you are able to honestly communicate with them. So let's say you take the chance. There's a smoking hot person over there and they make me scream mommy or daddy, and you're just like, I need that in my life. How do you vet them? No one knows them. You talk to them first and you're like, I like what you got. If you want an opener, if they're a top and you want an opener, oh my God, you got a whip. I love whips. You can be like, cool, let me show you whips. But you need to understand, oh, are they using the whip well? Are they actually? Is it actually fluid? Or does it seem like they're like doing this and random shit? And what the fuck are you doing, buddy? You bought this nice whip, but you don't know how to use it. Understand, educate yourself of what you want to do, how you want to do it, and have an expectation. In some situations, you'll be okay with it. In some situations, you won't. Talk to them how they talk to you, right? If they talk to you with respect and they don't enforce you a role or an identity, right? That's a no-go, right? In the BDSM community, right? If I come up to you and I say, you need to address me as sir, fuck off, first off. No one, sirs, masters, all of that sorts, those are titles the community gives, not one that is enforced. If you want to be called daddy, you best give me some chocolate milk and cookies, god damn it, because I want to be fucking daddy. There is a whole lot of this sort of situations that you need to be aware of. You need to have respect for yourself, and you need to understand what is going to happen. If you have a certain idea of what things should be, great. If you want to try something new, probably not go to the guy you don't know anything about. I don't care if he's like Antonio Banderas from that sexy movie of his. Anyways, going in past my preferences, we want to find people who can help us get to the point we want. So educators are good to helping you get to the point of learning a kink, understanding the risk, having reality and expectations and combining them. And then we have people who we want to play with, either because we find them physically attractive, emotionally intelligent, something along those lines. These are all situations that we need to be aware of. And I know in the time I'm looking at this recording, I probably said in this situation way too many times. But I mean that because it is a case-by-case basis. With that being said, vetted is a personal process that you need to think of for yourself, because you are not just consenting to the acts, you are consenting to the person. And if you do not trust the person, or if there's red flags and you're like, something's off about it, don't do it. It is always best to do more, to talk to them, to understand them, to engage with them, to then do a scene with them, right? And if it takes 30 minutes to sit on a couch, I can watch other people have fun scenes and all that sorts and just talk about what they are all about, so be it. It's only going to benefit you. And I understand if you a lot of people in VR, they have never been in a play space, right? A lot of people, they get the urge, I need to do stuff, I need to do stuff, I need to do stuff. Don't. Take the time, adjust to the environment. Don't let your adrenaline guide you into a bad situation. And it seems like Lala is going to be typing something. But yeah, that is an hour and 40 minutes. Any questions? Any comments? I will obviously address Lala when they make their point. They're still typing. But yeah, again, I am always willing to teach you, I guess is probably the best way of putting it. If you see me at an event and I'm not doing a scene, say, hey, I got a question. by all means, stop me. Too long, gonna send it in event chat. Okay, that's cool. So in event chat, tell me when they type it.
Keep an eye out.
Cool. If you have any questions, talk to me. I literally have all the time. If I'm on VR, I have the time to talk about it, to tell you how I feel about certain things.
So here's what we got. More general question. As someone who's very reserved and introverted, what are some recommended openers for starting conversations with new folks? And also opening that up to not just Scholar, but the whole floor.
Openers is a question that is different, right? There's nothing wrong with openers. Everyone has a way of engaging in conversation at some point. We use openers because we don't find it comfortable to speak in a familiar tone with some people, and having that familiarity can be difficult. Openers are good shorthand ways of essentially saying hi, but in a very specific manner. It is, there is not, you want to add something to it?
I think I can add something really quick that's helpful. If you're specifically talking about in BDSM communities, if you're interested in someone or want to start up a conversation with someone, the best place to start is what brought you to like Primal, for example, or what brought you to this rigging class, for example. What are your interests in it? And then try to find common ground there.
Yeah, everyone's here for the same reason, right? So
maybe.
Yeah, like
yes and no. Yes and no. That you will
some
know.
some people, again, let me address the environment thing after this. I find openers a very easy way to approach people. If you want openers and you just want to find situations to approach people, if you're trying to approach a top, chances are that a top has tools. If you want to talk to a top and start talking about a specific thing that you're interested in, just be like, hey, I saw your tool. That came out wrong. I saw your flogger, or I saw your like wand, your violet wand. Jesus Christ, the innuendos. I saw a lot of these tools. I'm interested in this. Can you tell me about it? And they'll 9 out of 10 times a top will be like, oh my God, I get to share my skill sets by talking and showing off. They'll love it, right? If you're talking to a bottom and you want to do a scene with them, it's always best to approach them as a person first, right? Because again, from a top perspective to a bottom, I always go with the mentality of, do I mesh with them like mentally, and then go from there, go into another aspect of it and go into kinks. Whereas, you know what, I like you. I think I vibe with you. I've seen you do scenes. A lot of those things I think I have in common. Do you want to do something past that? That's if you want to be very forward. Past that point, if you're not looking at play, then you're not looking at doing a scene with somebody, it's always best to just interact with them. Talk to them as if they weren't at a dungeon. In fact, if you were to talk to somebody without referencing a dungeon, they probably find more comfort into you than if you were, right? Because if I went to you and started being like, God, you took that dick real well, like, I'm going to tell you I'm not going to be interested in that right now. And I'm going to say, thanks, I fucking tried hard, right? And the conversation goes out, right? If you want to engage with somebody, engage with them on a non-transactional basis. Don't make your conversations about what they've done or who they are or how they look. Engage with them of what they're trying to do, what they like to do, and how they want to behave, how they want to be treated. Or just say hi. Hi's good. Hi's always good.
There's one in the audience and some in the event stage. We haven't gone to the audience in a while though. Do you want to go to them first, and then I'll get to the event stage?
Pink hair person, I don't see your name.
That's me. I just wanted to add one thing to that specifically because I have had problems with this specifically at Primal. Don't try and use openers and stuff like that while people are like in scenes. Like I know it goes without saying, but like it has been really bad a few times where we've been trying to do stuff and someone will just come on and be like, hello, I like what you're doing. And it's like, we're doing that thing. Please leave us alone while we do said thing.
So I guess we can take a...
That's very against the rules, by the way. Moving forward.
Yeah.
Like even before that, but now it's being hyper enforced, so don't do it.
Yeah. Let's go with kind of rule 101 at an event. I say in BDSM events, Taku, please correct me if there's some nuance between your rules and my rules. If you are out of dungeon space and you are wanting to watch, what's the proper length, right? How much space do I give you? And the way I always say, do it as if you were at a museum, right? If you're at a museum and let's say that this is this pencil, right? Hopefully everybody can see it. This pencil is their scene. People are doing a scene, right? I'm not going to be like, that looks fucking great. That's not good, right? This is also distracting,
That
right?
looks
Too much space. Like I am taking up a good chunk of their vision, right? This is fine. This is fine. They're doing their thing. They got their bubble. I can see what they're doing. If I want to, I'll move around. I'll be like, oh, okay. Okay, that's cool. You move around, give them space. When they're done, even then, give them time because they're most likely going to be doing aftercare. And then even after that, when they're finally back moving around, eating, even then, don't bother them when they're eating. That's just impolite. But give them time. And then go into them, ask them, hey, really like the scene. Can we start doing it? Oh, yeah. And if they tell you to fuck off, yeah, respect it. Please do. Right? It's their time together and you're intervening. Right? Don't do that. So what about, hello, my name is Indigo.
There was another. There
Oh
was
my
another
god,
question
I could
from,
see someone
Zach
walking up to a
as
scene.
well.
Because honestly, if you're walking up to a scene and doing that, you might as well at that point be like, got room
I've
for
done it
another one.
before. No, I've seriously done that before. I had a
Yeah.
whip and they were on a St. Andrew's cross and I was like, hello, my name is Indigo Montoya. You killed my father, prepare to die. And I whipped them, right? You get into weird shit when you've been into this lifestyle long enough. It's fucking hilarious at the moment and I still love it. Anyways, any other questions in the audience before we go into the chat?
I think Zeth, you have a question. Then in the chat, a couple of follow-ups on first on the question of openers. She is saying I prefer icebreakers over openers. Try to make friends first. It's always a good option. Lucy just clarifying that by openers, I don't mean like a go-to liner or something. Hence Inigo, no Inigo Montoya. Just things
Yeah.
in general to talk about and try to interact with for the first time, which I think you did answer already.
Yeah, I'll go a little bit more into that. They're dungeons, social environments. There is always going to be cliques. How do you introduce yourself to cliques, right? You are a new person and you are seeing a group of people, and there's always going to be one or two or maybe more groups of people that hang around with and just want to talk, right? Just as much as we talk here, where you see a bunch of people in some random world and you don't know who they are, and they start saying, I saw Pokemon, and you're like, I love Pokemon, I love Piplup, right? You just interject. Yeah, you'll naturally find some way to get into the conversation at hand. And you know what? If you want to introduce yourself and you just be like, I'm sorry, I like Pokemon, I really do. My name's Scholar, how are you doing? 9 out of 10 times, they'll respect it and be like, yeah, sure, come talk. Right? Because no one in the BDSM community is going to be unwelcoming, right? Because every person in the community agrees with this to a certain extent. More kinky people that respects each other boundaries means more kinky fun that can happen and that I can watch and or take part in. It only benefits to be more welcoming and understanding, so long as they're respecting other people's space. Why not add more? It's just going to get better and more unique of a community. It only makes it more available. And Chihaya, you have something you want to say? Time. That time? That's close to time. So I guess some things to expect for the next class is we are going to be hosting a couple of things. Again, this is foundational, so we started with consent, but as you saw, it can easily go into other things. The next class that we are planning on doing is going to be a tools of the trade sort of things. What are some tools? What are some tools and why are they using it? How do you use it? What are some DIYs or cheap alternatives to it? These are all things that we're going to be going into next 2 weeks from now. Yes, 2 weeks from now. And we are going to discuss on how they're implemented, how we can do it, and setting the expectation of where you can find some of these things and all that.
We're also doing a
Yes.
service submission class / workshop at some point on a Thursday this month. So Chia will have
But
the
yeah.
details.
With that being said, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me yammer on about something I care so very much about. I again implore you guys, please take this to heart. Understand that what I am teaching you is simply my interpretation of it. It may not be the exact interpretation, but it is definitely a North Star you can follow. Same thing with all the other educators, with Taku and the others. We are all giving you the same general direction. How you express that self, how you express your kink, is only going to be dependent on your ability to communicate with each other and also respect. Those are the two main things that will make you open the floodgates to this entire lifestyle that there is. The next class is August 16th, same time? Yes, same time. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Scholar.
Yay.
Extensive class.
Thank you,
everybody.
Scholar.
Thanks for participating, everybody.